My name is Jones, and today we are going to talk about supervision. Supervision is one of those topics that we discuss in leadership and management in NASIM. Okay, so to begin this lesson, let us define the word supervision. By definition, supervision is an act of controlling and guiding staff in their work. Other authors have looked at the supervision as an art of overseeing, watching, and directing with authority the work and behaviors of others. All in all, what this entails is that leader supervision is being in charge of some work and ensuring that it is being done correctly. Supervision is a critical aspect of nursing. Nurses must be supervised to ensure that they practice within their legal, ethical, and professional framework. Let us now look at the objectives of supervision. The first objective is that supervision is important or is fundamental to assist the staff to carry work skillfully and cost effectively. The other fundamental objective of supervision is that it helps staff to develop individual capacity to the full extent. The third objective of supervision is that it helps in guiding staff in meeting predetermined work objectives and/or targets. The fourth objective of supervision is that it helps to motivate subordinates to maintain high morale. Okay, so the other objective of supervision is that it assists subordinates or group to identify problems, solutions, and take action. The sixth objective of supervision is that it helps in developing team spirit and promote teamwork for effective function and work output. The seventh objective of supervision is that it helps in assisting and guiding towards the right direction in bridging the gap between personal goals and organization goals. Types of supervision. The first type of supervision that we can look at is supportive supervision. It focuses on improving or enhancing the skills of staff to ensure they provide quality services. It requires an assessment of the performance of staff and give them a feedback. It usually includes on-the-job training. The supportive supervision aims at the following. One, helping service providers to achieve work objectives by improving their performance. Then two, supportive supervision helps in ensuring uniformity to set or to follow already set standards. Supportive supervision also helps in identifying problems and solving them at appropriate time. Supportive supervision also helps in helping other people to take responsibility. Supportive supervision also helps in following up decisions reached during the previous supervision visits. Supportive supervision also helps in identifying staff needs and their training opportunities. Then the other objective of what supportive supervision is able to help is that it provides options to staff for personal development. The 8 reasons as to the importance or the objective of supportive supervision is that it helps in assisting workers provide quality services. Also, it helps for staff to identify and solve problems that may be related to their performance, working conditions, or administration. The 10th objective of supportive supervision is to improve the skills of the staff through interpretation of technical guidelines, updating them on recent development and research, and also exchanging information on good practices that can be replicated in any other district. So when talking about supportive supervision, you can always think of the district or the province coming to support you at the clinic through what they call technical support. Okay, so that is technical support supervision. So techniques of supervision. So some of the techniques that you can use in supervision include consultative technique. It is based on democratic principles of supervision and leadership. Okay, so under this technique, the advice of workers should be taken on all important matters. The idea is to give chance to workers to suggest solutions to problems, and if suggestions are appropriate, can be taken into consideration. Then the other consultative principle, apart from the principle of supervision and leadership, is the autocratic technique. So under this technique, all rights are centered in the supervisor, and these orders are strongly obeyed. Nowadays, this technique is no longer used. That is the autocratic technique. So the consultative technique is based on democratic principle. Okay, that is principle of supervision and the leadership. Under this technique, the advice of workers should be taken on all important matters. You are like more like using democratic kind of style in the getting consultation. Then autocratic technique, under this, all rights are centered in the supervisor, and his orders are strongly obeyed. Then there is the freelancer technique. The supervisor gives complete freedom to workers to work after seeing their abilities. So the freelance type of leadership, okay, so now here we have the freelance technique. So the supervisor gives complete freedom to workers to work after seeing their abilities, especially if the workers are capable, you're dealing with experts. So you have to note that the supervisor should not depend on a single technique. Depending on the circumstance, technique should be changed. Okay, so now when talking about techniques of supervision, when we look at consultative technique, it's more like you're using democratic style, okay, where you value the contribution from others. Then autocratic, it's like you're using autocratic type of leadership, where the leader, okay, is strongly obeyed and the center of decision making. Freelance, like freelance type of leadership technique, this we are saying it gives complete freedom to workers, especially if you are dealing with experts. Now let us look at functions of supervisors. The first function of supervisors is orienting newly posted staff. The second function of supervisors is the assessment of workload by ensuring that it is within the physical and mental competence of the subordinates. The third function of supervisors is to arrange for resource mobilization, find out what is needed, like medical, surgical, stationary linen, and the likes, and arrange for timely supply. The other function of supervisors is to coordinate or coordination of efforts with subordinates and other stakeholders. The fifth function of supervisors is promoting effectiveness of subordinates through performance, evaluation, and staff development. So in trying to remember the functions of supervisor, just think of the first time you are posted, the first time you were attached to a ward, there was a supervisor who oriented you to the hospital environment, who conducted some assessment of your work and gave you some tasks that you can do for each and every individual. There was some tasks that we were doing in the ward. And there were also other coordination that these people or these supervisors were doing with other departments like the pharmacy to ensure that the resources that you need are there. So they also promote effectiveness of subordinates through performance and also evaluation. So these supervisors at the end, they were doing an evaluation of how our services were in that ward. So the 60th function of supervisors is to assist and guide subordinates with their personal problems by providing a sympathetic understanding in order to improve morale. The seventh, the seventh, the seventh function of supervisors is to promote social contact with your team in order to promote team cohesiveness. The eighth principle, or function of supervisors, okay, the eighth function of supervisors, that is facilitate flow of effective communication. The ninth function of supervisors is to raise a level of motivation by recognition and giving credit for good performance, writing a recommendation for promotion and the likes. Then the 10th function of supervisors is to ensure effective control by knowing what is being done effectively. So by doing that, they will ensure there is effective control. Then the 11th function of supervisors is to develop confidence in the subordinates through understanding, that is through understanding them, and also application of firmness. The 12th function of supervisors is to emphasize achievement by ensuring a smooth work routine and improved interpersonal relations. Let us look at job responsibilities of a supervisor. So the job responsibilities of a supervisor may include may include to ensure that the goals of the organizations are being followed and ensure that work is being done towards achieving these goals. The other job or responsibility of the supervisor is to ensure that the plans of the organizations are carried out in order to achieve goals. That is, subordinates should be working towards achieving this goal of the organization. The other responsibility of a supervisor is ensure that subordinates work in line with policies of the organization to meet the objectives of the organization. So, responsibilities of supervisors to employees. Okay, so what we are looking at are responsibilities of the supervisors to management. Then now we're looking at responsibilities of a supervisor to employees. So the first one is to provide direction and training to employees lacking skills, protect employees from unfair treatment, provide a clean, safe, and uncluttered workplace, provide the equipment employees need to do the job, provide a well-lit and adequately ventilated area, updating nurses on ethical and etiquette issues, reinforcing good conduct and instilling a discipline. So these are responsibilities of a supervisor to employees. Okay, it's important you note the difference when you talk of responsibility of supervisor to management. Okay, it's more like carrying out the orders and ensuring that policies are followed, their goals are followed, okay, of the organization. And then when we look at the responsibilities of supervisor to employees, here we are looking at the supervisor providing direction, okay, protecting employee, providing a clean, safe environment, provision of equipment, the equipment employees need to do the job or resources, providing providing a well-lit and adequately ventilated area, okay, to mean a safe working environment, okay, updating workers on ethical and etiquette issues, and also reinforcing good conduct and instilling of discipline. Then let us now look in general the importance of supervision. So the importance of supervision, one is to mean of isolation. All staff need to have feedback on their work so that they feel part of the organization. That way, staff will value their achievement. So supervision also enables the staff to have access to guidance and information. So the importance of supervision is prevent feelings of isolation. Then the other importance of supervision is reducing the risk of conflict. Where staff feel they are being listened to and their concerns are being taken seriously, their frustration is less likely to lead to conflict, which is much more difficult to deal with. The third importance of supervision, okay, may be that it helps in ensuring that procedures are being operated properly. It is important to monitor how successfully work is being done by different people, especially when there may be workers who are not as good as others. The fourth importance of supervision is helping to control workloads. Working conditions lead to a bad service that is being offered to clients, and in extreme cases can mean staff have to take sick leave or they'll be absent. Okay, so those are the four importance. Those are the four fundamental importance of supervision. Let us now look at the skills for effective supervision. So the skills for effective supervision include human relations skills. When we talk of human relations skills, we are looking at the knowledge about human behavior and ability to work well with others. This includes inspiring subordinates for good performance. Then the other skill is technical skills. Knowledge and skills specific to particular job. That is a technical skill. Then administrative skill or conceptual skill. This has to do with knowledge about the organization and how it works. A person with good conceptual skills can see and understand all parts of the business and how each part contributes to the whole, especially in health sector. The other skill for effective supervision is decision making and problem solving skills. Here we are looking at ability to analyze information and make objective decisions. Let us now look at characteristics of effective supervisors. Characteristics include give clear work instruction. That is, communicates well in general and keeps others informed. The other characteristic of effective supervisor is praises others when they deserve it. This is with the understanding of the importance of the recognition of good work that is being done and also looking for opportunities to build the esteem of others. The other characteristic of effective supervisor is willing to take time to listen. This has to do with awareness of value of listening, both for building cooperative relationships, avoiding tension, and grievances. Then the next one is cool and calm most of the time. This helps in maintaining self-control, doesn't lose his or her temper, and can be counted on to behave maturely and appropriately. The other characteristic of an effective supervisor is that he gains the group's respect through personal honesty. What this means doesn't try to appear more knowledgeable than is true, but not afraid to say, I don't know, I made a mistake. So here you gain the group's respect through personal honesty. Demands good work from everyone. This is a characteristic of an effective supervisor because it helps in maintaining consistent standards of performance. Let us look at factors that hinder employees' performance. Factors that can lower production or productivity of an employee. So the first factor is lack of skills. So when you say lack of skills, we are looking at expertise necessary to perform the job. The other factor that may hinder employees' performance is lack of information. Lack of information constitutes feedback, guidelines, or standards. The other factor is motivational issues, like lack of incentives in place that positively reinforce good performance. Then the next one is personal issues. Thoughts, that is to do with thoughts about the self, experiences, or problems in the context of the individual's life that may or may not be known in public contexts such as supervision setting. The other factor may be environmental issues, and that is to do with unacceptable working condition, equipment to perform the job effectively, and the likes. Let us now look at how supervisors hinder employees' performance, or factors that should be avoided by supervisors so that productivity is not affected. So the first one is incompetent evaluation. By incompetent evaluation, what we mean is the use of invalid and unreliable tools in assessing workers' competence or performance. Then the other one is creating perceptions of favoritism. If a supervisor allows perception of favoritism to exist every time a decision is made, people assume it because of whom you like and who you don't like. The other factor that may hinder employees' performance, or how the supervisor may hinder the employee's performance, has to do with the non-employees' achievement and recognition, where giving credit for good work, ideas, or innovation is important in motivating the person that is being supervised. So if at all you exercise biasness, also in giving achievement recognition, then the workers will not be motivated. Okay, so now let us look at steps in conducting supervision. The first one has to do with information. Inform the relevant authorities and supervisees, okay, the people being supervised, on the dates, team composition, time, objective of the visit, and the support needed. So the first step has to do with the information, okay, that is to relevant authorities and the people you are supervising. The next step is explaining the whole supervision plan. So explaining the supervision plan. Here we are looking at supervisee to be met, time to be spent, and the feedback session that might be needed. Okay, so the second step has to do with explanation of the supervision plan. Then the third step has to do with observation. So you observe and gather information using the checklist. So you do the observation, using a checklist. That is the fourth step in conducting supervision. Then, so that is the third step in conducting supervision. That is the observation. That is observation using what? The checklist. Then the fourth step is providing corrective and supportive feedback on performance. So the fourth step is a supportive feedback or provision of corrective and supportive feedback on performance. So the key word here on the fourth step is feedback. Okay, the feedback should be corrective, and it can be corrective or it can be supportive. Okay, so our next step, once you're done with the supervision, okay, we are now looking at steps in conducting supervision. Okay, so we have looked at steps in conducting supervision where we have information, that is information to do with informing the relevant authorities and the supervisees. Then step 2, explanation, that is explain the whole supervision plan. What we explain is the supervision plan. The third one is observation. The 2 you use the checklist. Then the fourth step is feedback, which can be corrective and supportive. Then let's look at steps in conducting supervision. Steps in conducting supervision. So now, which steps are we going to follow in conducting supervision? So once you are done with supervision, find a conducive environment with appropriate privacy to give feedback. Use positive feedback when performance is good and constructive feedback when performance needs improvement. Start with those areas they are doing well, followed by those where there are problems. You can focus on systems and processes, the performance or action, not on the person. Okay, so then you can also invite the supervisee to give you feedback and questions. For instance, how did the process go? What things did you find helpful? What are some of the things that you didn't like or were not helpful to you? Are there things you want help with which we did not address today? So you can ask such questions, okay, after you invite the person that is being supervised, okay, as you give feedback. Then you can identify areas that needs improvement and the strengthening and agree on the action plan using a joint problem solving approach. Okay, so that marks the end of our lesson on supervision. So we started by first defining supervision. Okay, so supervision is more of an act of controlling. Okay, so the act of controlling or guiding the staff or your followers. It can also be looked as an art of overseeing, watching over, or directing with authority. That is the work and behaviors of others or the people that are following you. Supervision entails being in charge of some work and ensures it's being done correctly. So that is, in a nutshell, that is how supervision can be looked at. Okay, so supervision forms a critical aspect of nursing. That is why it is discussed in leadership and the management. So we appreciated the objectives or the fundamental importance of supervision in assisting staff to carry their work skillfully, helping to motivate subordinates, assisting and guiding towards right direction. So those were just some of the things that we looked at. Then we also looked at types of supervision, of which we have discussed that there is supportive supervision. Okay, we discussed that there is supportive supervision, which focuses on improving or enhancing the skills of staff to ensure they provide quality services. And we also talked about that it requires assessment of performance of staff and giving them feedback. Supportive supervision aims at, or we talked about the aims, ensuring uniformity, identifying problems, helping other people, and take responsibility, and the like. So we discussed about 10 of those aims. Then we went on to look at techniques of supervision. So these techniques were in line with the types of leadership, where we said there's consultative technique, which is based on democratic. Then there's autocratic technique, which is based on autocratic type of leadership. Then there's the free lane, which is based on the laissez-faire. And then we went on to look at the functions of supervisors. Okay, after discussing functions of supervisors, we went on to look at the job responsibilities of a supervisor. So in looking at job responsibility of a supervisor, we looked at it in two different categories. That is responsibility of the supervisor to management. We came up with some points. That is the supervisor's responsibility to management. Then the responsibility of supervisor to employees, or the person that the supervisor is directing. Then we went on to look at the importance of supervision, that is preventing feelings of isolation, reducing the risk of conflict, and we discussed it. So I think about 4 points there. Then we went on to look at the skills for effective supervision, where we have talked about the human relations skills. You must be people person, should have the technical skills, should have the administrative skills, the decision making and problem solving skills. So such skills that you need to have. Then we looked at the characteristics of effective supervisors, okay, where we discussed giving clear work instruction, giving praise where it is due, okay, willing to take time to listen or have a listening ear. Then we also went to look at the characteristic of effective leader. Okay, so this one was a continuation. Then we went on to look at factors that hinder employee performance. Okay, so the factors bear on skill, lack of information, it can be issue of motivation, personal issues, or environmental issues. Then we also looked at how supervisors hinder employee performance. So it can be incompetent evaluation, okay, it may be deliberate or not, but if there is biasness and the likes, it may lead the supervisor may hinder the employee's performance, or creating perception of favoritism, okay, and also not having some kind of achievement recognition for your followers, that may hinder performance. Okay, then we went on to look at steps in conducting supervision. The first one, which is informational. Then the second one, has to do with explanation. Okay, explanation of the plan. The third step is observational, using using the checklist, okay, or a standard tool that is available. Then the fourth one, providing feedback that may be corrective or supportive. Then we went on to look at steps in conducting supervision. Okay, so the steps. So once you are done with the supervision, you can find the conducive environment and do the ABCs that are needed. So that is how we discussed this, and then came to an end in discussing supervision as a topic in management. So thank you very much for listening, and keep studying.